Schumer may have driven out to Delaware to have a personal meeting with Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear that?
So that
This
part
is news being broken. This is actually serious.
Yes, this is actually serious.
So Axios is reporting on a meeting between Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Other than President Trump, he's the highest ranking Democrat in Washington, D.C., at Joe Biden's. Did I say President Trump? Damn it. I did a Biden. I have mashed potatoes for brains. Axios is reporting on a meeting between Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and President Joe Biden at Biden's Delaware home. Now, Chuck Schumer has acknowledged that this meeting took place. Here's the headline. Schumer had good meeting with Biden in Delaware. Hey, Senator Schumer, how was that meeting you had privately, one-on-one, just the two of you at Joe Biden's residence in Delaware? You know, after the debate where his brain melted and malfunctioned, and then after the whole series of interviews that he's given where he doesn't quite seem to get the fact that everyone wants him to step down because he's going to kill the Democrats' ticket this November. How'd that meeting go? Chuck Schumer's answer? It was good. End of comment. Hannah Nichols at Axios reporting Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer traveled to Delaware on Saturday to meet with President Biden in person, calling it a good meeting, but offering no tangible sign of support for the embattled president. Yeah, see, that's the thing. He said it was a good meeting, and this would have been a great opportunity to say, and I'm more committed than ever to making sure Joe Biden wins 4 more years because he's the only man who can be our nominee. He's the only one to beat Donald Trump, and we can't wait for 4 more years of Bidenomics. Would have been a great opportunity for him to say that, but he didn't. See, sometimes in these reports, what isn't said is just as important, if not more important, than what is said. Good point, Danny, over on Facebook. Schumer needs to go too. Aren't we sick of all of these, octogenarians running our lives? Why it matters. I love it when Axios tells us why it matters. It was the first known face-to-face meeting between Biden and Schumer since the president's disastrous debate more than 2 weeks ago. Bullet points. I sat with President Biden this afternoon in Delaware. We had a good meeting. That was the statement. That statement was noticeably cooler than his previous insistence that I'm for Joe. It comes after Axios reported on Thursday that Schumer was privately signaling to donors that he's open to a Democratic presidential ticket that isn't led by President Biden. Okay, so that's your Axios headline. And it's important. Now, why it matters. I'm going to go a little bit further telling you why it matters that Axios will go. Because the Axios doesn't want to get too far over their skis because Axios, like the rest of the media, are trying to keep their powder as dry as possible because they're still trying to figure out the best way to go here. Understand, these liberals in the media, their job is not to report information to you and give you real analysis. Their job is to defeat Donald Trump and to defeat Republicans. And they still don't quite know exactly the best way to go about doing that. Some of them think it's with Joe. Some of them think it's with Kamala. Some of them think it's with, some other candidate. They haven't gotten their crap together yet, and they're waiting for somebody to lead the way. Most of them, though, have determined that Joe Biden has mashed potato for brains and that there's a serious liability putting him out there longer and longer and longer. And so they're trying to basically figure out how best to cover up for him. Now, that leads us to our pals over on the Ruthless podcast. Yes, sir, the Ruthless Pogrom, as they call it. They're broadcasting live from Milwaukee. And Kevin, I'm thinking I might want to start wearing the sunglasses for the show. What do you think? I know that Smug wears them all the time, comfortably Smug there on the Ruthless Pogrom. But all of them are wearing shades, and I think it looks cool. And I've decided, Kevin, I'm going to do that too. Are you okay with that?
Well, after you mistook President Biden for President Trump earlier, maybe we should get you some aviators so you can really fit the role.
Because I, in fact, too, have mashed potatoes for brains. Thanks for that. Thanks for, if you're going to do a callback on this show, don't do a humiliating one that embarrasses the host, Kevin. All right, so here they are. And these guys, just if you don't know who the Ruthless guys are, they got a great podcast. It's very fun. It's very influential. In fact, I've appeared on it. That's all you need to know. These guys are all former Senate staffers. They all know people in the Senate at the highest levels. A couple of them, I think, worked for Mitch McConnell. So, of course, they have great relationships and inner workings with Schumer's staff as well. So watch what they told you about that meeting with Chuck Schumer. The good meeting? Yeah, it was good, all right. It was great.
Schumer may have driven out to Delaware to have a personal meeting with Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Did
So
you guys hear that?
so that
This
part
is news being broken. This is actually serious.
Yes, this is actually serious, and because we do have some sources,
We have many.
and there are a lot of things that media sources can't report because it hurts Democrats.
Yeah.
So he drove out there.
Mhm.
Tell what happened.
Well, I think you may know more details than I do, but it's my understanding that he got in his car and he got in the car that was driven for him out to Delaware to have a private one-on-one audience with the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
No staff.
None. And what happened when he got there?
Well, it's our understanding that he was going to lay out the case for Joe Biden and why it was very, very difficult for his party to survive this election if he's still in office, or at least still running for president. And, look, knowing Schumer, it's like a poll number thing, and he's talking about, he's just got that whiny thing. But I guarantee you what it was to basically say, like, you got to step away.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Yeah.
He's not going to do it unless Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, and Nancy Pelosi run a full-scale public campaign to remove him from. And even if they do,
I'm not sure he does.
There's no guarantee they could win. I mean, they're not getting him off.
It says a lot about the current state of our politics and the news cycle these days.
Yeah.
That the United States Senate Majority Leader goes to the home of the President of the United States and asks him to step down.
This is without precedent.
It's a blip.
People don't,
this is
we're
like
telling you're hearing this for the first time.
this is like a Nixon Goldwater situation. And it was only publicly reported. Oh, we had a good meeting.
Yeah.
Really.
Nobody's digging into that.
Yeah.
Can't dig into that. That might hurt the ticket.
Yeah.
Well, they're not sure. The media's in this state of like, they're not sure which Democrat it helps and which one it hurts, so they stay quiet.
Yeah.
Here you go. Actually, I didn't realize they went into that part of the issue there. But as I just told you, that the media, they don't know what to do with this whole thing, right? But this is exactly. Have you noticed that nobody has followed up with Chuck Schumer? He put out this statement. We had a good meeting. What did you talk about? What was the meeting about? Why do you even have to meet right now? It's certainly not about any legislative agendas between now and Election Day. So why else would Senator Schumer be meeting with Joe Biden? The answer is obvious. It's to assess his viability for the ticket, because Chuck Schumer knows that if he stays on the top of the ticket, the way things are right now, as of next January, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. He loses the Senate. He loses it bigly. All right. Do you know, when you break down the Senate races this November, the Republicans have a victory in the bag right now, flipping a Democrat seat to Republican. That's West Virginia. It's Senator Joe Manchin. He is stepping down. So now it's up for election. And that is a state that Donald Trump has won by like 25 points the last two elections. The Republican will win that seat. That's flipped like that. There's other seats that are very strong in favor of Republicans right now going down the map. Do you know, as you look at the numbers, look at the polling, and look at the chances for Democrats to flip a Republican seat, do you know what their best chance is right now? Kid you not. When you do the analysis of the Senate, the best chance Democrats have to flip a seat this November is in Texas with incumbent Senator Ted Cruz. That's their best chance. And I'm going to go out on a limb right now. That's not going to happen. Not by a long shot. Ted Cruz will be reelected in Texas. So they're in trouble. And Chuck Schumer knows they're in trouble. That's why he went and had this meeting. And that's why I believe the reporting and sources that the Ruthless team has here, that whole meeting was Chuck Schumer saying, Joe, you got to go. Now, as they just said, I don't think that's going to make an impact. They said, unless Obama and the Clintons both come in. But, I've been thinking, we've been analyzing these rounds of interviews and speeches that Joe Biden has engaged in to try to assure Democrats that he's just fine. And have you noticed a talking point that he keeps repeating? He keeps saying that he has been the most successful president in recent history, that nobody expected him to be able to do everything that he did, all the legislation, all of the great things that he's done. He has been the most successful president since Roosevelt. If you're Bill Clinton, how do you take that? If you're Barack Obama, how do you take that? Let's be real clear here. Joe Biden has literally done nothing since Republicans won the majority in the House in 22. So that means Joe Biden is claiming that in 2 years, with a majority House, majority Senate, he was able to accomplish more than Barack Obama in 8 years and Bill Clinton in 8 years. How do you think those guys with enormous narcissistic egos, how do you think they feel when they hear mashed potato brains say that about his record? What did Joe Biden do? He passed through a COVID relief bill that actually exploded inflation, right? He did that in the first 6 months. Then he did this ridiculous infrastructure bill that sadly 15 Republicans stupidly helped him pass. And then he did the Inflation Reduction Act, which he claims was this groundbreaking climate change bill, which basically amounted to throwing billions and billions of dollars to electric vehicle policies. And the net result is we've got 5 new power charging stations somewhere around the country. And you're Barack Obama, like him or not. And Barack Obama's sitting there saying, dude, I passed Obamacare. You're going to compare what you did in 2 years to what I did? Yeah, like Obama and Clinton have got to be insulted by this despicable lying maniac claiming that he did more in his 2 years than any president since Roosevelt. So I don't think they're really on Joe's side right now. Now, add this story. Chuck Schumer going to beg Joe to get off the ticket. Add to that another breaking development this morning. Again, I want to keep pointing out, Joe Biden continues to have these meetings with members of Congress, with people in the media, with donors, to convince them he's okay, to convince them that he's going forward, to convince them that they got to stay on the train with him. Think about that for a second. If everything's solid and you've got all this support, and you're the darling of the Democrats and everyone's rallying around you the way Joe claims is happening right now, why do you need to keep having these interviews with Lester Holt and George Stephanopoulos? Why do you keep needing to have these special private meetings with influential members of Congress to shore up your support? If the support's there, you're golden, dude. Keep charging for it. But no, he keeps having these meetings. And here's the latest out of the Texas Tribune reporting on a Zoom call. Let me read it for you. Right before the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, a group of moderate Hill Democrats, there are moderate Hill Democrats, held a tense Zoom call with the White House to express their concern about Biden's ability to win and their ability to win, should he tank and take them down with him. Quote, the call was even worse than the debate, which, by the way, I want to remind you, was 2 weeks post-debate. This was this Saturday, right before the assassination attempt. Even worse than the debate, one of the participants told me. He was rambling. He'd start an answer, then lose his train of thought. Then he'd just say, whatever. Actually, I don't believe that. I think what he says is anyways. That's his little tick, his vocal tick. When he loses his train of thought, he just says anyways. He really couldn't complete an answer. I lost a ton of respect for him. This is from one of the Hill Democrats participating in this Zoom call. A second participant, zoom in right now. If you're only half listening, focus on my words right now. Listen to this. A second participant in the call confirmed the characterization. Quote, the president was rambling, dismissive of concerns, unable or unprepared to present a campaign strategy, and had a particularly troubling exchange with Jason Crow, congressman from Texas, I believe, saying to him, quote, "Tell me something you've never done with your Bronze Star, like my son," unquote. That's according to a member of Congress. Had the campaign, where did we just lost? Where did we just move? Oh, all right. I missed the quote stops right there. Think about that for a minute. Joe Biden getting into an argument with moderate Hill Democrats on a Zoom call, challenging Jason Crow, saying, "Tell me something you've never done with your Bronze Star, like my son." Again, raising the specter of his dead son and flashing a Bronze Star as if he died in combat or something, which he didn't, but Joe Biden thinks that he did. And then questioning the patriotism of Jason Crow and challenging the validity of his Bronze Star. And by the way, doesn't this sound 1,000% believable? Because this is the Joe Biden we see all the time. You remember in 2020 at an Iowa town hall when somebody started challenging him about his son's corruption. He said, "Oh, you want to have a push-up contest with me? I'm going to take you around back. I'm going to be, you're a lion horse-faced pony soldier," or whatever the hell he says. All this crap. This is what Biden does. This sounds exactly like him. Hang on. Here you go. Further down into the article, the campaign did not, however, dispute this next part about Crow and his Bronze Star. In a video of the Zoom that I was able to view, you can hear Biden chastising Crow, who asked about the importance of national security to voters. Quote, "First of all, I think you're dead wrong on national security," the president says, the emotion at times garbling his words. Yeah, I'm sure it was the emotion that garbled his words, not the, mashed potatoes. "You saw what happened recently in terms of the meeting he had with NATO. I put NATO together. Name me a foreign leader who thinks I'm not the most effective leader in the world on foreign policy. Tell me who the hell that is." This is Biden screaming at his own Democrat caucus. By the way, these are the people that he's trying to impress right now and prove that he's mentally stable and competent to be president. And he starts getting into a screaming match with them. "Come on, I'll show you. I'll take you behind the barn and I'll beat you up. Tell me who that is. Tell me who put NATO back together. Tell me who enlarged NATO. Tell me who did the Pacific Basin." What does that even mean, did the Pacific Basin? "Tell me who did something that you've never done with your Bronze Star, like my son, and I'm proud of your leadership. But guess what? What's happening? We've got Korea and Japan working together. I put AUKUS together. Anyway, it's always an anyway. Things are in chaos, and I'm bringing some order to it. And again, find me a world leader who's an ally of ours who doesn't think I'm the most respected person they've ever," and then he trails off. That was on Saturday, right before the assassination attempt. And by the way, according to the article in the Texas Tribune, had the assassination have not occurred, as many as 50 Democrats on Capitol Hill would have publicly asked for Biden to step down. This was at the same time Chuck Schumer was meeting at his home in Delaware, at Joe Biden's home in Delaware, begging him to get off the stage. Oh, guys, it's happening. It's really happening. And again, last night, in front of a friendly crowd, the NAACP, Biden gave yet another teleprompter scripted speech where he was supposed to prove to everyone that he's just fine. Want to take a look at how it went? Okay, let's do that.
Not a joke. And Kamala and I have a constant fight. She says Howard's the best. I said Delaware State's the best. But that's where I got my star.
That's Joe Biden, the president of the United States, whiter than Casper the Ghost, claiming that he got his start at Delaware State, a historically black college, saying that he's constantly arguing with Kamala Harris, who went to Howard University, also a historically black college, about how his is better. Delaware State's better. That's where I got my start. He, of course, did not go to Delaware State, in case anyone was wondering. But that's okay, because it's the NAACP audience, and he can say whatever he wants to them, apparently. Clay Travis, our pal over there at Outkick, he put together a montage of how many times Biden's brain malfunctioned, and he couldn't complete a thought. And again, I want to remind you, This speech is on a teleprompter. Take a look at this montage.
I know you say, Joe, you may not have a Congress. Well, guess what? You all told me I couldn't pass the Inflation Reduction Act. You all told me I couldn't face it. Anyway, we did it. We're going to bring rents down, as I said. We're going to build 2 million affordable homes. And cap rent increases of 5% a year so corporate landlords can't. God. Anyway, I don't want to get going. I'm going to get very upset. But there's gouging America. And by the way, not only saves lives, it will save taxpayers. Just what I did on the first round on dealing with Medicare. It saves the taxpayer $160 billion because they don't have to pay these exorbitant prices to these anyway.
How many times does he have to do that before we realize he's not overcome with emotion? He's actually not got a functioning brain. He can't complete or finish a sentence, so he just ends it with anyway. And this whole, I'm going to really get worked up. He spent the entire speech shouting. It's the old Simpsons meme. Grandpa Simpson, old man, screams at cloud, right? But one part of this speech in particular I want to draw focus on. Again, reading from a teleprompter. Watch.
We're going to bring rents down, as I said. We're going to build 2 million affordable homes. And cap rent increases of 5% a year so corporate landlords can't. God. Anyway.
All right. Again, he was reading, but he still couldn't figure out what to say based on the script that was right in front of him. Remember with Lester Holt, he just said the other night, I'm on the horse, man. Come on, what's the matter with you? How many times do I have to give a speech where I don't even have to rely on a teleprompter and everything's fine? This is with a teleprompter, what you're seeing. But what was that there? We're going to cap rent increases by 5%. Now, this is an unconstitutional Marxist idea that they've been floating for the last week because they're trying to appeal to the ultra left-wing liberal Marxists, because if he just gives them whatever they want, then they won't make a move on him at the convention to try to take him off the ticket. So now he's just opening up the goodie bag. And this one is outrageous. It's absolutely anti-free market, anti-capitalism, anti-logic, anti-constitution that he, as president, will cap rent increases. So any private property owner cannot increase the rent of a tenant of theirs by more than 5%, regardless of market conditions. It doesn't matter. We're going to control the market because we're the central government. Because when has that ever failed? But forget about whether you agree with this policy or not. The policy is that he's going to cap rent increases at 5%. That's a pretty easy thing to remember. I'm going to cap rent increases 5%. Cap rent increases 5%. I heard this the first time, and I've never forgotten it. It was about a week ago when they first floated it. Okay, he wants to cap rent increases at 5%. He just said it in the speech, reading it from the teleprompter. Later in the speech, still reading from the prompter, he refers to it again. But for some reason, he has trouble reading it this time. So instead of actually being able to draw from his memory and say, okay, maybe I have trouble reading this, but I know my policy. It's capping rent increases at 5%, right? That's easy. I don't need to be able to read that. I can just say it because I'm a normal functioning human being with a brain about, the size of a at minimum 6-year-old, because a 6-year-old would be able to remember that. Watch what happens when Joe Biden's brain breaks again.
The idea that corporate-owned housing is able to raise your rent $300-400 a month or something. Under what I'm about to announce, they can't raise it more than $55. Yeah,
that is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay, it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life because I want you to watch his face. He does the whole lean forward thing. I'm going to say this, and it's going to be part menacing part intimidating and part impactful. But either way, I've learned over my 50 years in Washington, and if I lean forward, I look really badass because I'm Clint Eastwood. So he squints his eyes, and he's going to say this thing so impactfully, and then he can't remember his own policy. So watch him, because the pause here is incredible. Watch the deer in the headlights look. Actually, it's like, possum in the headlights, because he's got the. Watch him forget his own policy, and then he just pulls $55 out of his butt instead of 5%.
$55.
Oh, it's gorgeous. And you got to love the NAACP audience, because they know, everybody knows that it's 5%. And then they hear $55 and they're like, $55? All right. Yeah, let's go. Oh, what a fool. I can't wait to see how Karine Jean-Pierre handles this, by the way. Karine, yesterday the president said that they're capping rent increases at $55. Is that the policy now? No, I'm gonna let's take a big picture look at this. The president did say $55, but of course the policy is 5%. And what the president was saying was that if your rent is $550 a month, then the increase will be capped at $50. Well, no, actually, Karine, that's 10%. Oh, that's right. What I meant was it's $1,100 a month. Then it will be capped at $50. He was giving an example of what the 5% cap would be. Well, Karine, he didn't say that. He just said it would be capped at $55. Okay, so I'm going to refer you to the Department of Housing and Urban Development so that they can give you a fuller explanation of this. But no, we don't need to be referred anywhere, Karine. The policy has been 5%. Now he's saying $55. Which is it? That's the end of today's press briefing. More of Joe Biden proving once again that Chuck Schumer is wrong when he's begging him to step down. All those moderate Hill Democrats are wrong. He's got his act together, guys. Here's more.
Look, folks, think about this. My state of Delaware. If you know, not many don't know my state. My state of Delaware has a Delaware River runs up along, it's jagged. But at the top of the state, there's a half moon, and it goes up along more oil refineries on the other side of that half moon, darkest looking area than anywhere in the country, including Houston. And guess what? The wind blows southeast. We had the highest cancer rate for the longest time. But you know who's affected? Fence line communities. You know who the fence line communities are? Black communities.
That was terrific. That's Joe Biden at his best right there. I want more of that. I want Joe Biden to run for office between now and November doing nothing but geography lessons about Delaware and screaming about black people dying. That's what our country needs right now. He's the unifier we've been praying for. Seriously, if you're a Democrat, if you're in the House of Representatives, you're in the Senate right now, and you're watching this show develop on a daily basis, are you ready to jump out a window, right? All of them are looking at the rules. It's like, hold on, can I get off the ticket now at this point? Can I decide to retire? What happens? Does the governor replace me? What happens? It's so ugly. Here, a little bit more. Let's go more.
And one of my best friends who used to, when I was a lifeguard in the projects, he was his nickname is Mouse.
Mouse.
And one of my best.
He's got a new imaginary friend. We always thought it was Corn Pop, right? But no, it's Mouse, everybody. Or we know what cartoons he watched before he gave the speech, and it was just sort of stuck in his head. There's more. There's more. This was not at the NAACP, I don't think. I'm not sure which remarks these were. But more examples of how Joe Biden has his act together and everything's fine.
Like America First high-speed rail line. That's going to take you from Las Vegas to Los Angeles in 2 hours. Create over 30,000 jobs. And guess what? Save billions of tons because of pollution. Because people, all the studies show, you can get from point A to point B in a train or a vehicle at the same distance. You take the train.
I mean, he seems 100% together to me. That's Joe Biden at his best right there, as he'll tell you. And my favorite part was at the very end of the speech when it was decided by somebody to just end this thing before it gets any worse.
God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We can do this, folks. With the Democratic Party, we can do it.
That's some vim and vigor right there. Did you notice how quickly? I mean, they had their button ready on the music the second he gave his God. But look at the face. Look at this. This is what they've got. This is what they've got. And look at how quickly they're like, the button was like, please finish, please finish, please finish. Watch how quickly the music comes.
God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know your love.
All right. Well, there you go. Oh, by the way, one other thing. After his speech, they did the whole let's bring Joe to a store or something, a Wawa or whatever, and meet with the people. So they did that. And what did Joe do? The second they brought this decrepit, failing old man with mashed potatoes for brains into a store with regular folks, let's see what he did.
You helped bring the money? How do you? Thank you.
Oh, my God.
How are you? Good to see you. You checked me out the other day. Recently here?
Yep, that's right, guys. There was a little girl there, and he went right in for the sniff. Didn't hesitate. There was nothing stopping him. No one standing in the way. And inexplicably, the parent of this child, who clearly doesn't pay attention and realized that Joe Biden is in the room, was not there to do any sort of, maneuvers to protect their child. So he went right in for the sniff. Watch the beeline he makes when he sees this little girl there. Go look at his eyes. Look at his face. You see, he's spotted her. He scoped her out, and now he's going to go right in for the sniff.
You helped bring the money? How do you? Thank you. How are you? Good to see you. You checked me out the other day. Recently here? Then you checked me out.
And now he won't back. I mean, it's like, I know people are like, oh, he was posing for a picture. No. He's stuck. Look at the girls finally like, okay, can we just gently move this little girl away from this man and back up? It's a great. Remember how when he was running for office and the whole Me Too thing came down, and he had to give a speech, little remarks to Instagram that said, "Listen, I know in the past I've been guilty of invading people's personal spaces. That's because I come from a different era of politics, but I've learned my lesson, and I'm done with that." Yeah, trust me. Once you become president, you can do whatever the hell you want. You do whatever the hell you want. Look at that. The sniff. It's all about the sniff. It's getting right in her face. Why does he have to be so close to her? Oh, this poor mother. Okay. All right. Enough. The bottom line on all of this is that Joe Biden is as together as he's ever been. He is more cognitively aware as ever. And listen, only a man who has his full faculties can get on a Zoom call with a fellow Democrat in Congress and start screaming at him and challenging him that he hasn't done anything with his Bronze Star. Because, the whole purpose of having a Bronze Star is to then use it for political leverage or something. It's an amazing report.